Welcome back to Packs and Picks. I'm here with our third sealed pool for Wilds of Eldraine. As usual, I've broken down the cards in each color in the pool over the last week, so let's dive in and talk about some cards and the deck. First off, the deck I settled on is green-black, so I'm going to set that up right now. And I arrived at this deck maybe for a silly reason. We can talk about it. But as I was flipping through all the cards, I came across Vampiric Rites, this card here. So 1-mana enchantment lets you sacrifice creatures to draw a card and gain a life. So pretty innocuous, but I just know from experience that there's a lot of ways that you can abuse a card like Vampiric Rites. And so I started looking at the pool through that lens, and for better or worse, I felt like I found a decent amount of effects that I could use in this pool. So let's take a look. This is the deck here. Like I said, it's a green-black deck. It does have a very small red splash. So the first thing I wanted to point out is I have two steal creature effects or threaten effects. So I am splashing red for Twisted Fealty. So this lets us gain control of an opponent's creature. Maybe we can use that creature to attack, but most importantly, we could then sacrifice it to Vampiric Rites. So kind of a roundabout removal spell in that regard. We also have a copy of Ariette's Tempting Apple, which a little more expensive, and it's on an artifact, but also lets us gain control of a creature until end of turn. So we've got two of those effects in the deck. I felt like with the combination of Vampiric Rites could be a fun interaction. We also have a little bit of a combo with the card Mosswood Dreadknight. So when Mosswood Dreadknight dies, we can cast it for its adventure until the end of our next turn. So we could potentially sacrifice Mosswood Dreadknight to Vampiric Rites, draw a card, and then potentially cast Dread Whispers again on the next turn to draw another card and use the life we just gained. So a nice little combo there with Mosswood Dreadknight. Other cards in the deck, we do have a little bit of ramp. I do have a copy of the Iron Crag. There's actually no legendary creatures in this pool, but as just a 2-mana rock, I felt like it was good, considering we do have some expensive cards up at the top end of the curve that we really want to be able to get out, because otherwise there's not really much at the top end of the curve for us. So just getting those expensive creatures out sooner, I think, is going to be beneficial to us. We also have Agatha's Soul Cauldron. The first couple of abilities for our deck, there's really not a lot of activated abilities on creatures for us to abuse with Agatha's Soul Cauldron. We do have a Death Touch ability in the Warehouse Tabby over here. But other than that, there's really not much exciting for us. So really, I just looked at this as kind of a 2-mana artifact that'll turn some creatures into +1/+1 counters using that last ability, and maybe we get 2 to 4 +1/+1 counters over the course of the game. So we've got that in the deck as well. So what did make the deck? Let's take a look at red first off, and some of the things that I like and saw with red. So in red, I usually look at the removal. We have 2 copies of Cut In and 1 copy of Torch the Tower as our burn spells. Cut In to me seems like just a hair too expensive for the effect that you get. I could be wrong there. Otherwise, we had Picnic Ruiner. I was really tempted to splash this as well in this deck because of the Stolen Goodies adventure, but I thought it was just going to be too greedy, so I left this out of the pool. And then we also had Raging Battlemouse. So 2-mana, 2/1 has this celebration effect where you can pump another creature till end of turn. I do like that its ability with that second spell being reduced in mana cost kind of helps you enable the celebration effect, but it just didn't seem like there was really a lot going on with the Raging Battlemouse. Like, you wanted to be comboing off with that mana reduction over and over again. So I think it's a fine card, but not something that I was really trying to build around. And then other than that, just not that exciting of a red pool in this pool overall. The next color is blue, we'll take a look at. And blue had some cool stuff going on. So we do have Frolicking Familiar, so 3-mana 2/2 flyer. I do really like this card. I thought it was kind of interesting. They gave it this little bit toned down prowess ability, just triggering off of instants and sorceries. But otherwise, I think this is a really good uncommon that I would like to play in a deck at some point. We also got Chancellor of Tales. I do really like this card. Just being able to copy adventures without having to jump through any hoops seems like it's really great. Aquatic Alchemist also cares about instants and sorceries. Mocking Sprite cares about instants and sorceries. Splashy Spellcaster cares about instants and sorceries. So there is this really kind of instants and sorceries theme being built, but unfortunately the rest of the blue pool just didn't pay off with all those instants and sorceries that I wanted to cast. We had Succumb to the Cold, Water Wings, but then it drops off kind of really quickly in the blue cards, and similarly you saw with the red. So we had like half of that instants and sorceries deck, but just didn't pay off with the rest of the pool in blue. And then for the white cards, we did get 3 Blind Mice. I really wanted to find a way to abuse this somehow in the pool or get some extra value out of it. I just couldn't quite see it. I could be undervaluing it though, just because I know there's a lot of roll tokens floating around, so you might just like to have those mice that you can throw a roll token on, make it a 2/2, have some extra abilities on it. But otherwise, I just couldn't find a good way to slot this in. We did get Savior of the Sleeping and Knight of Doves, speaking of the roll tokens. So this has a nice little synergy if you're going to be replacing roll tokens a lot. So I could see that as being beneficial to us. A couple good spells in Kellen's Light Blades and Cooped Up. But otherwise, nothing super notable in the rest of the pool. But it is something that I do think white would have been my third choice over green and black if I were to build this deck in a different way, try to find a way to get these white synergies in the deck. And that's really it. There you have it. Let me know your thoughts on the pool and what you think of this green-black deck. What choices might you have made differently? Do you like the look of red, blue, or white more than I do? Feel free to let me know. And thank you so much for watching. We got one more deck to build for Wilds of Eldraine, so I'll see you there.